Hey there guys, just wanted to react to this one video. I've seen a lot of positive reviews about Wukong, and I don't really need to say any more about it. I think everyone kind of knows it's a good game, but I was more interested in seeing the bad reviews of what people are saying, and this is one of them. So I wanted to kind of go over it and put in my thoughts into this video.
So Black Myth Wukong is officially out. It's been out for 2 days, and I have played about 10 hours of the game. I put it this way: I've just passed chapter 2. That gives you a little bit of an idea of where I was, and I can't express how disappointed I am in this game. Just a quick little
I
backstory is
myself have
check
actually
out this
gotten to
video right
chapter
here.
6 now, it's the
I
final
watched
one.
the release date announcement trailer for Black Myth Wukong, and I was ecstatic. I loved it. I was so excited. Game of the Year 2024. Literally what I labeled the video, Black Myth Game of the Year. Done.
Right.
Never had another thought otherwise. But I am so disappointed in this game. I have a lot of cons to go through with this game that I have so many problems with throughout this whole video. Hey man, what are you doing? Everyone, this is Chase. Chase, this is
Okay.
everyone.
I'll
Hello,
just-
hello, my bud. You're in the way, though. You're in the way. Anyway, sorry. Excuse me for that. So, I'm just disappointed with the game. We have the trailer reaction. We also have the last 2 live streams right here on YouTube. So if you want to check those out and get a bit of context before watching this video, go right ahead. But for now, let's get into why I'm so disappointed with Black Myth Wukong.
Let's hear it.
What are you doing? So 10 hours with Black Myth Wukong, and what I experienced. The graphics are fantastic. The trailers have not lied. The graphics are fantastic. The world is very well designed, along with the bosses. The bosses are really well designed. The characters, you very rarely see the same enemy twice.
No.
It's exactly what I thought it would be in the trailer. I said, this looks like the game where you won't see the same enemy twice. It looks amazing. They delivered. They delivered on that without a doubt. However, the cons. This game for 10 hours is the most repetitive, excuse my French, bullshit I have ever played.
Okay. On that point, I don't know what he means by repetitive. There is a lot of, or there are a lot of games that just have sort of like repetitive actions, but you sort of change your way of doing things, I guess. Wukong is pretty much in the same vein as like Devil May Cry or like God of War, as I've heard from a lot of people. Like, it's just very combat heavy game, and you do get plenty of options, plenty of variety in how you want to approach fights, how you want to build your character. So I don't really understand what he means by repetitive, because there's plenty of games that just are like, it's not even the fact that it's repetitive, it's just like how the developers tackle repetitive gameplay is what matters, because there's plenty of popular games out there that are repetitive but are to this day still good games, and like people love them. Like, look at League of Legends, right? Like, look at Yakuza games. Like, I would very much say like Yakuza is very much a very repetitive game. All you do is just beat up a whole bunch of guys, but throughout your progress you eventually unlock new moves, new attacks, new techniques and things like that. In the same vein, Wukong is the exact same. So I can't agree on the repetitive stuff. Like, it would be extremely repetitive if there was no variety, but Wukong does offer plenty of variety.
You didn't like that, did you? You didn't like the bullshit. Okay, but yet the game is just repetitive. It is literally one big boss rush, and I've seen these complaints. Okay.
I can understand, like, but it might not be for everybody, but I don't particularly see why, if that being a boss rush is a bad thing. I really don't. I can't even say that the bosses are even hard. The only times you would actually genuinely struggle is with main bosses from the end of the chapter, I guess. Like some mandatory bosses. They are genuinely, some of them are genuinely very hard. Like most bosses takes me 1 or 2 tries, mostly one attempt to get them done. But the final chapter bosses, they're hard. They actually require you to think and be a bit more careful with what you're doing.
You gotta go. I've seen these complaints happening all the time where it's just a boss run, and I've seen some people defend it going, that is the story of Black Myth, Journey to the West, the Chinese folklore story. That is the story of Black Myth Wukong. He literally goes from character to character beating ass. He literally goes on a boss run. That's the whole game. And it's okay.
That is
If
mostly
that's
the
story,
point. Like he's
sorry,
supposed to be the
if that's
strongest.
The story, then fair enough. But that goes to my next point. There is an insane lack of story. There's nothing.
I almost agree with him. The story is kind of there. It is very vague. At times you probably have to even open your little codex thing and read a bit about more information about characters. It gives you a bit of more lore. I can kind of understand where he's getting at with that one. The story isn't being told in the most I don't know, pronounced way, I guess. I don't know how to say it. Like it's not very well told, I guess.
Why am I beating these characters up? I have no idea.
I kind of agree.
You have this
I can kind of
intro
agree
to
with
a
that.
game that is gorgeous. It's breathtaking. You are a little bit overpowered. You see these awesome gods that you just want to fight. It's amazing. But then once that cinematic happens, you kind of get knocked out. You go back to square one. I kind of hate it when games do that, by the way. You start off with all these powers and abilities, and you get knocked back to square one. You got to start again.
Why? I don't. That's what I think you kind of have to earn the right to use all the abilities, but that's just me. I don't know. Like it's more satisfying when you actually progress through the story and you know you've earned that power. But whatever. I'm not gonna delve too much into that.
Frustrates me so much. But after that, there is no story. There is
there is a story. Saying there's no story is a lie.
Per chapter, not even area, per chapter. And
Also, mind you, he's only played until chapter 2.
Context of what you're doing, why you're doing it. That's it. I think the most interaction I had with an NPC was one of the bosses, which is a bear. Once you beat him, you go through his entire backstory, and I was like, that wasn't bad. That wasn't bad at all. But story? Why am I doing what I'm doing? What am I doing it for? Non-existent. It's not there. There is no story.
That's the thing. Like you've clearly not paid attention. You are doing all of this for a reason. You're trying to obtain relics, Wukong's relics, Sun Wukong's relics. That's the whole point. And you're going on this journey to obtain all these relics. You've just not paid attention.
On top of that, so we have a lack of story. The entire game is just a boss rush. Now let's get into how the game performs. The input lag is insane.
I've never had input lags. Never. I've been animation locked, but I have never had input lags. And as far as I've watched other people play the game. I've watched Asmongold, I've watched Critical, I've watched a whole bunch of other minor YouTubers as well. Nobody has ever mentioned of any input lags. A game that does have input lag is all the Dark Souls, Elden Ring. And that game is still good, so...
The input lag of the game is really bad. So
it's not.
You press your dodge buttons, your abilities are for PlayStation 5, you hold down R2, hit square, that is your stun ability, holds the character there for 5-10 seconds. The amount of times that just doesn't work, it doesn't input and nothing happens, is beyond frustrating.
I think that's definitely a you issue, personally.
Just me, because I've had
as far as I can tell
in my stream and friends say the same thing. Bro, why is this not working? This is so frustrating because it normally leads to a death. On top of that is dodging. So dodging is
One thing I will mention. This happened only on one boss. There was one boss that the performance was terrible. The frame rate kept dropping to like 30. But it wasn't even the frame rate specifically. It was the fact that the whole game would stutter, would freeze, and my inputs would just not work essentially. That was the only time that I did have input delay. It was more like it just didn't register, obviously, because it was like stuttering. So that was the only time. So if it's actual genuine performance issue, yeah, I can absolutely see that. But like overall, it shouldn't have any delays on your input commands.
8 out of 10, really responsive. However, there is no reward for perfect dodges. If you do a perfect dodge, you have this fantastic audio cue and ability of switching around the character. It's really nice, but nothing happens. There's no extra.
There is. I don't know what he's on about. Yeah, there actually is.
Nothing happens. There is no.
One of your talent points on the stamina, I believe, when you level it, when you do perfect dodges, you gain more focus. The focus is the thing at the bottom right, where you can use your heavy attacks with like more damage, or like you enhance your heavy attacks.
Reward
so there is a reward.
Dodging.
There is also other armors.
Don't get hit, but it can't.
That
feels like it needs something. If you dodge something perfectly,
enhance the perfect dodge in some way.
Something perfectly in any other Souls-like brand. I know it's not a Souls-like. Get out of the comment section. I know it's not a Souls-like, but in any other game similar to this, you get a reward. You get a reward for playing well. Not in Black Myth. In Black Myth, you get nothing. Oh, you didn't get hit? Alright, dodge this! On top of that, the general abilities are okay at best. The magic abilities, the pause, the multiply, and the transformation into your enemy types is quite good. I have no complaints of those ones. However, the heavy attack is straight up useless. The amount of times I would use my heavy attack, climb that pole.
I will say I've been baited into that as well. Initially, it is not great. You have to level it up to make it useful, and I think that's something that he has missed as well. But that should have been something obvious that you would realize during your gameplay. If you paid attention to the talent tree and what you can level, then you would realize that your skill isn't as strong as it could be.
Go into the strike and get knocked the hell out because it takes so long to implement that heavy attack for practically stuff all damage. Absolute stuff all damage. Like, what is the point of using it? 9 times out of 10, I would just use my attacks and my abilities. That's it. I would never use my heavy. I would almost never use my primary dodge. That's it. Like, I just couldn't stand it. Not to mention
he's definitely gotten the wrong gameplay for sure. Like, you have to build up the focus and then execute heavy attacks after your lighter combos.
The skill tree also feels like it doesn't do anything along with
that is absolute nonsense. The skill tree literally changes your gameplay. That actually is a massive change to how you want to play the game.